You're walking into a room you've never been in, having a conversation you've never had, and somehow, for 2 or 3 seconds, you are certain, not guessing, certain, that you've lived this exact moment before. Then it's gone, and you're left trying to explain something that shouldn't be possible. Almost everyone has felt this. Surveys suggest somewhere between 60 and 80% of people experience it at least once in their life, most commonly in their teens and 20s, then less and less as they get older. For something this common, it took science an oddly long time to take it seriously. For most of history, déjà vu wasn't treated as a brain glitch. It was treated as evidence of something else entirely. A past life bleeding through, a psychic premonition, a soul that had been here before. The term itself, French for already seen, wasn't even coined until the late 1800s by a researcher who was cataloging it alongside things like telepathy and clairvoyance. For decades, that's the company déjà vu kept in the scientific literature. Not memory, but mysticism. It wasn't until neuroscience got good enough to actually watch the brain in the act that déjà vu got demoted from paranormal event to memory malfunction. And what researchers found was stranger than the mystical explanation, not less strange. The leading explanation now is what's called dual processing theory. Your brain has, roughly speaking, 2 separate jobs running at once when you experience something. One system builds your sense of familiarity, a fast, gut-level, have I encountered this before signal, and a completely separate system handles actual conscious recall, the ability to say when and where. Normally, these 2 systems fire together, in sync. You feel familiar with something, and you can also say why. This feels familiar because I was here last week. Déjà vu appears to be what happens when those 2 systems fall out of sync. The familiarity system fires strongly, but the recall system comes up empty. Your brain gets a blaring signal that says you have absolutely experienced this before, with no matching memory to back it up. The result isn't a memory. It's a false alarm dressed up as one. There's a more specific version of this theory that's genuinely unsettling once you sit with it. Some researchers believe déjà vu is triggered by something as mundane as a single overlapping detail. The layout of a room, the angle of a doorway, the tone of someone's voice, that unconsciously matches a fragment of a memory you can't consciously access. Your brain doesn't recognize the memory. It recognizes a piece of it and mistakes that partial match for the whole experience repeating. In other words, you're probably not remembering the moment. You're remembering a shape. Here's where it gets darker. For most people, déjà vu is a 2-second curiosity, but there's a population where it isn't rare or fleeting at all. It's constant, and it's a symptom of something serious. People with temporal lobe epilepsy frequently experience déjà vu immediately before a seizure, so reliably that neurologists use it as a diagnostic warning sign. In these cases, it isn't a passing glitch. It's the brain's memory and familiarity circuits sitting in the temporal lobe, firing abnormally as electrical activity builds before a seizure event. Some patients describe the sensation as overwhelming, disorienting, and impossible to shake, arriving over and over, sometimes multiple times a day. There's an even rarer and stranger condition called persistent déjà vu, documented in a handful of case studies where patients report feeling like they are constantly reliving the present moment, watching the news and feeling certain they'd already seen that exact broadcast, meeting new people, and being convinced they'd already met them. In the most extreme documented cases, patients stopped watching television or reading the news altogether because everything felt like something they'd already experienced, a kind of memory system stuck in a loop, unable to register anything as new. What's uncomfortable about all of this is what it reveals about a sense we usually never question. The feeling that something is new isn't a direct readout of reality. It's a judgment your brain is constantly making, quietly, in the background, without you ever noticing it's a judgment at all. You assume newness the way you assume gravity. As a fact of the world, not a calculation your brain is running. Déjà vu is what happens when that quiet calculation briefly gets the answer wrong. And if it can get it wrong for 2 seconds in a hallway, for no reason anyone can point to, it raises an uncomfortable question about how much of your sense of "this has happened before" or this is happening for the first time you can actually trust at all. Which means the next time it happens to you, that jolt, that 2 seconds of absolute certainty, you're not glimpsing a past life, and you're probably not malfunctioning either. You're catching your own brain in real time, quietly trying to guess at something it was never actually built to know for sure.